We started MLex about 15 years ago to write about regulatory risk. So the risk that companies would get caught up in investigations, litigation, or legislation. We started in Brussels, and now, many years later, we're all around the world, from Sao Paulo to Hong Kong, to America, to Australia. And we're writing about stories, trying to get scoops about companies under investigation, companies facing the risk of selling off assets or getting fined or having to change their businesses. And we find that these kinds of procedures are of great interest to the legal industry, great interest to the corporate industry, and also great interest to investors. And what we're trying to do is get ahead of the curve, write the nerdy stories that might not appear elsewhere, write the stories that it takes a long time and good sourcing, a good understanding of the law to get. And yeah, just hunting scoops. What's taking up a lot of our time is the digital revolution. And we've seen over the last 10, 15 years how the digital revolution has changed our laptops first and our mobiles in the last 5 years. And now it's just rolling out to all parts of the economy and all parts of industry. So what we're really seeing is the kinds of stories we've been writing about for a decade are now colliding with the health industry, with the financial services industry, with the transport industry, as banks work out what it means when they've got new competitors in Google or Apple or Facebook, and cryptocurrencies, what car makers have to deal with when they realize that the car is basically turning into a massive computer that someone could hack, or that can gather data, or that can feed information back to insurers or to the streetlights. And areas like energy, where energy regulation is trying to wean us off the combustion engine for over the next 10, 15, 20 years. But what's it going to do to encourage the rollout of electricity charging stations, or encourage the take-up of technology in cars? So what we're seeing is the next phase of the technical digital revolution and the transformation of some of the older industries, or some of the more heavier industries, to these new forces. And that means that laws about technology, such as safe systems and licensed technology, licensed patents, and speedy connections and the gathering of data, is not just a tech issue. It's an issue for all industries, for all companies, for airlines which gather data, for banks which need to keep your data safe, for infrastructure companies who can't afford to be hacked so that they keep the streetlights on. We're seeing that this revolution is really piling into traditional parts of our economies. At the same time that the subjects that we write about are changing, also the people that we write for, our readers, are also changing. Law firms also have to chase this information, have to find information from parts of the world and from countries and from regulators and from courts where it's difficult to find out, where you've got joint investigations and litigation, which in Australia is having an effect in California, which is having an effect in London. So telling that global story helps our legal readers. It also helps our corporations. When anyone who in the 21st century is a company of note is probably active in many, many different countries. If they've got a merger, they might have to notify the merger in 20, 30, 40 different countries. If you're a car maker, you might have to transfer the data that the car gathers from a Munich street back to your headquarters in Tokyo. So really what we're seeing is this sort of globalization of risk, which has an effect on the law firms and the information and the risks that they need to find. The companies, knowing a new piece of litigation in Korea might clash with a piece of litigation in Brazil. And finally, as the third group of readers on top of that, we have the investment companies. They're also looking about which companies are exposed to greatest risk, which company is going to be forced to change its business model, where is their deal not going to get cleared, where is going to be the most incisive privacy regulation, where are they going to have to situate their servers because a particular country wants access to their data. where are they going to face litigation because the courts are particularly open to plaintiffs, for example, due to environmental behavior. So we're seeing the globalization of risk. We're seeing very sensitive and sophisticated readers, and we're seeing investors who are also looking for their best bet in this rather complicated environment.